secret of the coming deluge to the people, but could he not tell it to a wall? Calling Atrahasis to the temple, he made him stay behind the screen. Then Enki pretended to speak not to his devout earthling, but to the wall. "Read screen," he said, "pay attention to my instructions. On all the habitations, over the cities, a storm will sweep. The destruction of mankind seated will be. This is the final ruling, the word of the assembly of the gods, the word spoken by Anu, Enlil, and Ninhursag." This subterfuge explains Enki's later contention, when the survival of Noah/Utnapishtim was discovered, that he had not broken his oath, that the exceedingly wise Atra earthling had found out the secret of the deluge all by himself, by correctly interpreting the signs. Pertinent seal depictions show an attendant holding the screen, while Ea, as the serpent god, reveals the secret to Atrahasis. Enki's advice to his faithful servant was to build a waterborne vessel, but when the latter said, "I have never built a boat. Drop for me a design on the ground," that time Asi, Enki provided him with precise instructions regarding the boat, its measurements, and its construction. Steeped in Bible stories, we imagine this ark as a very large boat with decks and superstructures. But the biblical term "deva" stems from the root sunken, and it must be concluded that Enki instructed his Noah to construct a submersible boat, a submarine. The Akkadian text quotes Enki as calling for a boat roofed over and below, hermetically sealed with tough pitch. There were to be no decks, no openings, so that the sun shall not see inside. It was to be a boat like an Apshu boat, a sumili. It is the very term used nowadays in Hebrew Soleth, to denote the submarine. Let the boat, Enki said, be a a boat that can turn and tumble. Indeed, only such a boat could have survived an overpowering avalanche of waters. The Atrahasis version, like the others, reiterates that although the calamity was only 7 days away, the people were unaware of its approach. Atrahasis used the excuse that the Apshu vessel was being built so that he could leave for Enki's abode, and perhaps thereby avert Enlil's anger. This was readily accepted, for things were really bad. Noah's father had hoped that his birth signaled the end of a long time of suffering. The people's problem was a drought, the absence of rain, the shortage of water. Who in his right mind would have thought that they were about to perish in an avalanche of water? Yet if the humans could not read the signs, the Nephilim could. To them, the deluge was not a sudden event, though it was unavoidable. They detected its coming. Their scheme to destroy mankind rested not on an active but on a passive role by the gods. They did not cause the deluge, they simply cannot withhold from the earthlings the fact of its coming. Aware, however, of the impending calamity and of its global impact, the Nephilim took steps to save their own skins. With Earth about to be engulfed by water, they could go in only one direction for protection: skyward. When the storm that preceded the deluge began to blow, the Nephilim took to their shuttlecraft and remained in Earth orbit until the waters began to subside. The day of the deluge, we will show, was the day the gods fled from Earth. The sign for which Utnapishtim had to watch, upon which he was to join all other in the ark and seal it, was this: when Shamash, who orders a trembling at dusk, will shower down a rain of eruptions bore thou the ship, bat not the entrance. Shamash, as we know, was in charge of the spaceport at Sippar. There is no doubt in our mind that Enki instructed Utnapishtim to watch for the first sign of space launchings at Sippar. Shurupuk, where Utnapishtim lived, was only 18 BRU, some 180 kilometers, or 112 miles south of Sippar. Since the launchings were to take place at dusk, there would be no problem in seeing the rain of eruptions that the rising rocket ships would shower down. Though the Nephilim were prepared for the deluge, its coming was a frightening experience. The noise of the deluge set the gods trembling. But when the moment to leave Earth arrived, the gods, shrinking back, ascended to the heavens of Ami. The Assyrian version of Atrahasis speaks of the gods using Rukabilani, chariot of the gods, to escape from Earth. The Anunnaki lifted up their rocket ships, like torches, setting the land ablaze with their glare. Orbiting Earth, the Nephilim saw a scene of destruction that affected them deeply. The Gilgamesh texts tell us that, as the storm grew in intensity, not only could no one see his fellow, but neither could the people be recognized from the heavens. Crammed into their spacecraft, the gods strained to see what was happening on the planet from which they had just blasted off. The gods cowered like dogs, crouched against the outer wall. Ishtar cried out like a woman in travail. The olden days are last turned to clay. The Anunnaki gods weep with her. The gods, all humbled, sit and weep, their lips drawn tight. One and all. The Atrahasis texts echo the same theme. The gods, fleeing, were watching the destruction at the same time. But the situation within their own vessels was not very encouraging either. Apparently, they were divided among several spaceships. Tablet 3 of the Atrahasis epic describes the conditions on board one where some of the Anunnaki shared accommodations with the mother goddess. The Anunnaki, great gods, were sitting in thirst, in hunger. Ninti wept and spent her emotion. She wept and eased her feelings. The gods wept with her for the land. She was overcome with grief. She thirsted for beer. Where she sat, the gods sat weeping, crouching like sheep at a trough. Their lips were feverish of thirst. They were suffering cramp from hunger. The mother goddess herself, Ninhursag, was shocked by the utter devastation. She bewailed what she was seeing. The goddess saw it, and she wept. Her lips were covered with feverishness. My creatures have become like flies. They fill the rivers. Like dragonflies, their fatherhood was taken by the rolling sea. Could she, indeed, save her own life, while mankind, which she helped create, was dying? Could she really leave the earth? She asked aloud. Shall I ascend up to heaven, to reside in the house of offerings, where Anu, the Lord, had ordered to go? The orders to the Nephilim became clear. Abandon earth, ascend up to heaven. It was a time when the 12th planet was nearest Earth, within the asteroid belt heaven, as evidenced by the fact that Anu was able to attend personally the crucial conferences shortly before the deluge. Enlil and Ninurta, accompanied perhaps by the elite of the Anunnaki, those who had manned Nibiru, were in one spacecraft, planning, no doubt, to rejoin the main spaceship. But the other gods were not so determined. Forced to abandon Earth, they suddenly realized how attached they had become to it and its inhabitants. In one craft, Ninhursag and her group of Anunnaki debated the merits of the orders given by Anu. In another, Ishtar cried out, the olden days, alas, are turned into clay. The Anunnaki, who were in her craft, wept with her. Enki was obviously in yet another spacecraft, or else he would have disclosed to the others that he had managed to save the seed of mankind. No doubt he had other reasons to feel less gloomy, for the evidence suggests that he had also planned the encounter at Ararat. The ancient versions appear to imply that the ark was simply carried to the region of Ararat by the torrential waves, and the south storm would indeed drive the boat northward. But the Mesopotamian texts reiterate that Atrahasis/Utnapishtim took along with him a boatman named Pusur Emery Westerner, who knows the secrets, to whom the Mesopotamian Noah handed over the structure, together with its contents, as soon as the storm started. Why was an experienced navigator needed, unless it was to bring the ark to a specific destination? The Nephilim, as we have shown, used the peaks of Ararat as landmarks from the very beginning. As the highest peaks in that part of the world, they could be expected to reappear first from under the mantle of water. Since Enki, the wise one, the all-knowing, certainly could figure that much out, we can surmise that he had instructed his servant to guide the ark toward Ararat, planning the encounter from the very beginning. Berosus's version of the flood, as reported by the Greek Abyddinus, relates Kronos revealed to see-throughs that there would be a deluge on the 15th day of Daces, the second month, and ordered him to conceal in Sippar, the city of Shamash, every available writing. Sisyphus accomplished all these things, sailed immediately to Armenia, and thereupon what the god had announced did happen. Berosus repeats the details regarding the release of the birds. When see-throughs, which is Atrahasis reversed, was taken by the gods to their abode, he explained to the other people in the ark that they were in Armenia, and directed them back on foot to Babylonia. We find in this version not only the tie-in with Sipar, the spaceport, but also confirmation that CC3 was instructed to sail immediately to Armenia, to the land of Ararat. As soon as